Our identity is a very big question in our life. And when we talk about identity, the two questions that we have to answer is, what is our identity and the way we look at ourselves? And these are two different things. Sometimes the conceptions that we have of who we are, the conceptions that we have about us could be very different than who we really are. Anytime the question of identity comes, anytime the question of who we are, what is our purpose, why we are here, why we do what we do, why God put us on earth, why we are doing certain things, whenever these questions arise, we always have to look back to the truth to find our true identity. The true identity is found in what God says who we are. The core of it we find in Genesis, when God created everything. The story of Genesis tells us that after creating everything, God created men and women. And what the scripture tells us about the identity is that we are created in His image. The emotions that we carry, the purpose that we carry, the way we walk, the way we think, our ideas, our perception of things, the goodness in us, is everything is given by God because we are created in God's image. But as the story of Genesis moves forward, as the story of Genesis goes forward, we know what happened that changes everything. That man walked away from the presence of God, and our identity was twisted. Our nature was twisted. We were removed from our original design, from our original identity. Our identity was twisted because of sin. And we find ourselves today in this dilemma, in this question of figuring out who we are in the context of what God says who we are. That we find ourselves in this place of figuring every day, we're trying to figure out what is our purpose, what God has called us for, where are we moving, how our future is going to look like, how are we going to look like in 10 years from now, in 5 years from now, what are we here to accomplish? And all these questions, the answer of all these questions lies in one basic question, is what God says who we are, who He created us to be. If you study Bible, there is a book called Jeremiah, and in this book, God, while talking to Jeremiah, says this: the plans that I have for you is to prosper you, is not to harm you. Bible also tells us that God says that you are my workmanship, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. That when God was creating you, His fear was not that He was scared. His fear was not of that He was confused. His fear was of that He wanted to give His best in creating you and me. When God created you, He was giving His best. He was giving everything that He has so He can create you. He was giving everything that He has so He can make you. He is giving everything that He has to build you so that you will come out in this wonderful form, in this wonderful creation, in a way you're created that nothing else God has created. That you are distinct from every creation of God. That you are distinct from everything that God built. He took 6 days to build this universe, to create this universe. But when God made you, He made you different than everything else. And Scripture tells us, God says, you are fearfully and you're wonderfully made. That you are God's workmanship, that you are God's work, that you are God's best work, that God used His own hand to shape you, to form you, to build you, to make you. And God says, I made you for a purpose. I have made you for a purpose. And the purpose and plans that I have for you is to prosper you, it's not to harm you. The plans I have for you is for your growth, is for your prosperity, is for your security, it's for your peace, it's for your joy, it's for your courage, it's for your strength. The plans that I have for you is to prosper. The plans I have for you is good, and there is nothing bad in it. And that is where we find the core of our identity. Our circumstances does not define who we are. Our situations does not define who we are, because the circumstances are not permanent, but what God says about who we are is permanent, and it's going to last forever. God says this. God says, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. God says, my plans are to prosper you and not to harm you. God says, I love you. God says, I have blessed you with every spiritual blessing that is found in heaven. When Jesus died on the cross, He provided an answer for every single question that you might have in your life. He provided an answer for every single question that might come up in your mind as you walk in this life. As circumstances arises, as situations arise, all the questions that you might face, all the questions that might come across your mind, the answers for all those questions is provided by Jesus. That Jesus accomplished everything on cross. That Jesus conquered everything on cross. Jesus freed everything from sin on cross and has provided a way for us to live an holy life. He provided a way for us to live a prosperous life. He provided a way for us so that we can enjoy and be strong in what God has for us. God says you are free and you're not slave. God says He has given you capacity to fight through all your problems. He has given us wisdom. He has given us strength. There is nothing that we encounter in this life that we don't have a capacity to fight for. Because God created us to be conquerors. No matter what you're facing in your life today, no matter the questions that you are facing, you might be going through anxiety, you might be going through depression, you might find yourself in a place that you think that nobody loves you, you might find yourself in a place that you think nobody cares for you, you find yourself in this lonely place. But I want to encourage you by saying that there is a God who loves you. He cares for you. And there is a God who made you. You are not an accident, but there is a God who made you for a purpose, and He gave everything good that He created for you. And He says, the plans that I have for you is to prosper you, is not to harm you. The path that you're walking may look confusing. You don't know what's going on. You don't have any idea. You find yourself in this confusion. But I tell you, the plans that God has for you is to prosper you. And something good's going to come out of it towards the end. So don't give hope. Hold on. Stay strong and keep believing, because there is a God who loves you. He cares for you. He loves you. He wants to have a relationship with you. He wants to build your life. He wants to know you. He wants to reveal Himself to you, because He is a good God. Same way the word came to Jeremiah, a young man that we learn about in the Bible, and God came and told him, the plans that I have for you is to prosper you. The same way God is talking to you today and saying, the plans I have for you is to prosper you. Hold on to me. Seek me, know me, learn about me, find me. And I'm going to change your life forever. I will take you places. I will reveal things to you. I will tell you things. I will have a relationship with you. And I'll fill your life with my love and my grace and my power. And that is your identity. Your identity is you have a Father who created this whole universe. He is not distant from you. He is with you where you are. He loves you. He cares for you. He has made plans for you. The plans that He has for you is good and is to prosper you. His plans are not selfish, and He cares for you. He longs for you, and He has given you all authority and courage and strength and wisdom that you need to walk through this life. Trust God. Seek Him. Put your faith in Him, and He's not going to disappoint you. Because His invitation for you today is, taste and see how good I am.